That
Yep.
works.
All right, amazing. Sweet. Okay. So, all right. So I think it's super helpful to start with kind of where I started my little journey because the reason I do what I do every day now is because of the transformation I had and like how important it was in my life. So I went to college, normal kid, whatever, I was probably like 125, 130 maybe, but just not super athletic, but I would say very, very average, and left 15 pounds heavier. And I know that's very typical, but the issue for me was I literally could not get it to, I couldn't lose it. I couldn't lose it. And what I found was that I just was trying everything I possibly could and nothing worked. I would restrict and then I'd end up binging. I would be obsessed with working out on the elliptical hours on end, and that never worked either. And I just basically was like on a hamster wheel in my 20s, trying to do everything I could, and nothing worked. I'm sure you can resonate with this. I think this is a very common thing because at least when we were in our 20s, we didn't have a lot of information on how our bodies worked, how metabolism worked, what was proper nutrition, all of those things. So I just think these pictures are very indicative of sort of my journey because in 2013 I was brand new, married, on my honeymoon, and like it's fine. It's not bad, but like I just didn't feel great in my skin. I was probably like 100 and I don't know 40, 45 pounds there, and I just felt kind of yucky and not and I it's 100% how I was living my life. I was drinking a lot and I was super inconsistent with my fitness, and I certainly was not strength training. So that is kind of a good snapshot of what I was doing when I turned 30. And then the two pictures on the right from 2019 and 2016 are from right after having my girls. I gained about 40 pounds with each pregnancy, and really struggled after my first one. I definitely had postpartum depression. It was definitely not diagnosed, but I had it, and couldn't get like back into any kind of routine after I had her, and then got pregnant right away with number two. And then after that pregnancy, when I was feeling much better, I don't have a picture from after number two, but after I had Mary Gray, my middle daughter, I was feeling a lot better in terms of my own emotions, and my hormones were sort of balancing out. And I just started walking, and that was kind of where it started. And I felt so much better moving and sweating and just doing something for myself. That's truly like the trajectory. It was like I started there, and that's when it all took off. So, and then you can see 2024, this was this summer. This is what I look like now. So big change, right? I mean, I was a baby, I was 30 here, I'm 40 here, and it's like a different person. So I tell you all of this because I want you to know sort of where I started. And I think that the best way to explain it is that I didn't do 50 things at once to start changing my body and to lose fat and to build muscle. It was one thing. And the one thing I did was I started picking up weights. All right, that was all I thought about. I was not trying to change my diet. I was still eating pretty, freely of like whatever I felt like eating at the time. And I was kind of emotionally eating a lot. But the strength training was the thing that was kind of the catalyst that started my love for fitness, and then on to being much healthier and more focused and disciplined in terms of what I really wanted and trying to truly change my body forever. After that, I got very focused on my mindset and figuring out what stress I had in my life and how to manage it. That was kind of the second pillar that I hit in this journey. And then the third was the nutrition. And I 100% tell you right now, you can't do a lot unless you focus on your nutrition, but you don't have to do that right away. I think that's one of those things where once you get into this forward momentum of feeling like, okay, I'm in a fitness routine, I'm feeling really good, I have more energy, then you're like, I also want to now pair it with better nutrition. And now the two of them are going to make me skyrocket my results because I'm focusing on both instead of just one. So I do think it's important, but you don't have to tackle it all at the same time. And then the fourth piece was just movement, was like moving more. It wasn't just about 30 minutes in the basement working out. It was about walking more. It was about taking the stairs instead of the elevator. It was about parking farther away and just staying in this like motion of movement all day long. And obviously there is days when you can't do that, but it was more about like the mindset of I need to keep moving. Like I can't just sit at my desk for 8 hours and think that's going to change my body, because it's not. So those are sort of the 4 pillars. So I'm going to walk through all of them and give you some tips on all 4 pieces because they're all super important. And then you'll just see at the bottom, it says there's an asterisk that says where I can help you along the way. So through all my bullet points, there's a lot in here, but I want to just point out things where I can help you. So if you want to work together down the road, or you feel like you'd love some more advice or coaching on some aspect of this, I'm happy to help you. And hopefully these little asterisks will give you ideas on where we could work together if you'd like. All right, so number 1, strength training. So I know that this is not like new news that strength training is super important. But when I was in my 20s and even in my early 30s, like I did not realize how much we needed it. As women, we lose muscle every year. And if you are not resistance training, you are likely losing muscle if you are also trying to lose fat. Do you know what I mean? So if you're on a strict diet or you're cutting your calories, you're likely going to be taking muscle with you if you're not incorporating strength training. So I started my entire journey picking up weights, and I, to this day, am picking up weights at least 3 to 4 times a week, and I love it. I think that there is a kind of like a bad strength training sometimes gets a bad reputation that like, oh, I'm going to get bulky, or I'm going to look like I am a weightlifter, and like you're not. Those people train for hours and hours and hours per day and take a million different supplements and eat crazy amounts of protein, and they're doing a lot more to make themselves look like that than the average person. So what I want to try to shift in terms of your perspective on strength training is it is not actually going to make you look bulky. It's actually going to make you look skinnier. Okay. When you start building muscle, your metabolism will skyrocket. You are going to feel so much better in your body. So if you aren't already strength training, I know a couple of people on here are in the tribe or work out with me in person in New Jersey. But if you are not already strength training and you've been kind of on the fence about it, I'm here to tell you it is so worth it. It is the thing that is going to make you not only get stronger, but stay in shape, because the muscles you build are going to keep your metabolism up. So not only are you going to have a higher metabolism, but you're also going to be able to eat a little bit more fun foods and not feel guilty about it, because you have more flexibility in your diet when you have muscle on your body. Your body is burning at a higher rate all day long. So that is definitely the one thing I did in the beginning, and it made amazing results. Like within 2 months, I had lost baby weight. I had like the baby fat that I had on me from my second pregnancy, and then my third pregnancy, the same thing. And I just had way more energy. It just felt good. So I always say, like, when I go to my studio or I work out in my basement, it's like filling my own cup. Like this is like, it's like my little emotional outlet. It's my thing that has nothing to do with me being a mom. It's just for me. And I love that about it, because it really is something you can always go back to. So highly recommend a lot of strength training if you are looking to lose weight, lose fat, just build a nice, strong, toned body. You really do need to do that. And nothing against Pilates or cardio or yoga. Those are all amazing things. And if you do them now, keep doing them. But incorporating some strength training into your life consistently is going to make a big difference. So part number 2, mindset and stress. So there's basically 3 ways that you can gain weight. And it's not moving enough, eating poorly, or having too much stress in your life. And all 3 of those things we actually can control. You can't control stress coming into your life, but you can control how you manage it. So if you feel like you're in that place where maybe you're like, I'm eating okay, and like I move and I work out a lot, but like I just can't, like there's just weight that's just sticking to me. It's possible that it's one of those things where you are holding on to weight because of the amount of stress you have in your life, and you're not allowing an outlet in your, everyday day-to-day life to like release that stress. So I say, take an assessment, figure out how are you doing mentally? How is your mental health? Understand what stressors you have in your life. Like, do you travel a lot? Are your kids up in the middle of the night? Are you not getting enough sleep? Those are just everyday life stresses that are real, but they also can really impact your body. And then kind of more emotional stuff is like limiting beliefs. Are you telling yourself something over and over again that's kind of keeping you from moving forward? So this is kind of like that deep dive, like journaling, maybe talking to a therapist, maybe talking to some friends, and just kind of checking in with yourself and figuring out what really is going on up here that might be affecting your body. For me, I wasn't prioritizing sleep enough. And when I started doing that, it helped tremendously. I also started seeing a therapist, and kind of dug deep into my own like story I was telling myself about my body, and like, I'll never be this weight again, or I'll never look like this again. And I just had to kind of shut all that off and say, you know what, I can do it, and I'm going to do it. And like, it's never too late. And I just kind of have held this belief in my own abilities ever since having kids, that like if you can have a kid, you can do anything, right? Like it's amazing what women can do. And sometimes it just takes a little bit of like checking with yourself and realizing that maybe you're holding yourself back. All right, so that's number 2. Then for number 3, nutrition. So this is where I've talked about this a ton on my social media. So if you follow me, you definitely have heard this, like the importance of protein. That is number 1. Number 1, if you're going to take anything away from this talk, remember to eat more protein. That is like, so many of my nutrition coaching clients came to me and they were eating like 50 grams of protein a day. And it's just not enough. It's not enough. And you're not going to be able to keep muscle on your body if you don't eat more than 100 grams, I'd say. 100 is minimum. So I know that seems like a lot, but it really isn't. I promise I can help you with this if you need to like figure out a way to get on a plan where you're eating more protein. But I know when we think about fat loss, we think, oh, I really just need to like cut my calories and like stop eating bread and like, no more sweets. And yes, great. All of those things are great. But if you're not adding in protein, your metabolism is just going to tank. So you have to have the right macronutrients in your diet, regardless of everything else. So I would rather see you add in more protein first and then start taking things out of your diet. So step 1 for sure, protein, so important. And then the other piece to that is tracking your food intake, which sounds like a bore and it's not fun. And I don't really like to track very much, but it will give you an amazing picture of your habits. So going a week and just entering in stuff into an app or writing everything down, you're going to be able to look back and say, oh, every day at 4:00, I am like eating, 3 cups of my kids' goldfish and then 3 Oreos, and I'm super tired at that point. And then I end up eating their dinner and my own dinner. And now all this is making sense, right? Like you can kind of track and see your habits, and they're not bad. It's life. Everyone has stuff that they can work on. For me, it's candy. I really like chocolate and Swedish fish, stuff like that at night. I love nibbling on that stuff. And it's not the worst thing in the world, but I don't need it. It's just one of those things that I crave at the end of the day. Anyway, so tracking your food, super important for fat loss, because I just think it's important to know exactly what your habits are, where your maybe spots are that you need to improve, and places where you can add in more protein or add in more fiber or make simple swaps that are going to help create a more robust, wholesome, nutritious meal that maybe will keep you fuller longer versus like having small meals throughout the day that are just not doing it for you. So tracking foods are super important. Understanding your macros and your daily calories, very good metric to keep in mind. Even if you don't want to track macros, which I don't really track any of my macros except my protein, but macros are protein, protein, fat, and carbohydrates. So basically your diet should consist of like around 30% of each, or 30 to 35% of each, but your calories at the end of the day are the most important. So I always tell my nutrition coaching clients, start with protein, start there, add in the protein, just get in as much protein as you can because it's going to keep you fuller. And then we're going to start tracking your calories to see where you're at. That's where our tracking our food comes in. And then once we kind of have a handle on those two things, then we can say, all right, you're 200 calories or 400 calories over where you should be every day to reach your fat loss goals. So we have to pull out X hundred calories a day. Let's do it here, here, and here. Not, I'm just going to not eat until noon, right? Like, I don't think that works. I don't like intermittent fasting. So I just think having these metrics really helps you to come at it from a more like just not emotional place, right? You're just like, okay, this is where I'm at. This is where I want to be. So I need to kind of find that gap and like cut this much out. But it doesn't mean we're starving. It just means we have to sort of reallocate our food. Other tips. I highly recommend your first bite of the day is either something very high in protein or very high in fiber. So that means berries. I love berries in the morning. I also really love high protein yogurt or a protein bar or a protein shake, or eggs if you have time to make eggs in the morning. Your last bite of the day should be 3 hours before you go to sleep. I think this is super important for digestion. It's also going to help you sleep better, and you're not going to wake up feeling bloated. So the longer you can kind of give yourself before you go to bed without eating, the better. I try to end around 2.5 to 3 hours most nights. And of course, all of this doesn't have to be 7 days a week. It's more just getting consistent with these habits. Alcohol, big topic. I know we got a lot of people that love to have a cocktail, including myself. I love tequila. It doesn't make fat loss impossible. It just might slow it down a little bit. I mentally just think every time I have a glass of anything, it could be a glass of champagne, a glass of wine, a cocktail, it's 1 scoop of ice cream. It's a very easy way to think about your calories. If you think about every time you pick up a glass of wine as a scoop of ice cream, maybe you won't have as many some nights, but I think it's a great way to kind of think about it in terms of just the part of your diet, right? I mean, you think about your daily calories as like, as just like your budget for the day. How much can you spend? So if you have 16 or 1700 calories a day, then how much of that do you want to spend on wine versus everything else? All right. And then lastly, movement. So this was the last piece of the puzzle for me, which was I really highly underrated walking. I did not realize how helpful it was, and also how much it does change the trajectory and the pace at which you will lose fat when you walk more. So it seems super like, oh, that's nothing. Like, what does that do? But it does a lot. It can burn up to an extra 1,000 calories a day. And it truly is it's really like one of the most important things you can do every single day. That's so easy. It's free, and it does not take up a ton of time. You can do 5 to 10 minute walks throughout the day. They add up. I promise you, this is one of those tips you need to walk. And I really actually, I started doing this about 6 months ago, walking after dinner. It's really great way to kind of digest your food, regulate the blood sugar, not run to the fridge or freezer to grab ice cream right after dinner, just to sort of like step away from the table and reset. I think it's a really, really great habit. So if you have some time after your last meal, maybe walk around the neighborhood, maybe walk around the backyard with the kids. It's a great way to just sort of reset your system and not feel like you're just shoveling food forever until you go to bed. All right. So next up, I'm going to break this into like 2 sections, eating for fat loss and then fitness for fat loss. But I kind of talked about these already. But step 1 is increasing your lean protein. 7 days a week, you should be eating at least 100 grams of protein, and focus just on this for 2 weeks until it becomes your new normal. This is what I want to just feel like create a habit that you feel very committed to, and that becomes just like it's normal. Like you're like, yeah, of course I'm going to eat this much protein every day. I know exactly what I need to eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, my snacks. You got it all locked in. After that, you move forward onto the next step. That being to track your food for at least a week and analyze those habits and trends, see where you feel like you need some help, and where those gaps are. Step 3 is following a meal plan based on your caloric ceiling. So again, this is where something where I can help you. Basically, you have your calories for the day, your budget, and having a plan to really follow that consistently. And sometimes you can do, depending on your lifestyle, I can help you do 5 days a week at X number of calories, 2 days a week, much higher calories if you want to be not thinking so much about it on the weekends, versus during the week you can be a little bit more disciplined. And then Friday, Saturday, you're like, I just want to let loose and like eat pizza and chicken parm and do whatever. Like, that's amazing. And you can do that. You just have to adjust for your numbers. And then finally, step 4 is managing the stress, prioritizing your sleep, and just get consistent with it. That's really all it is. It's not impossible, but it does take a little bit of thought. And the older we get, unfortunately, you can't just snap your finger and say, oh, I want to lose 10 pounds. Like, you have to really think it through, be thoughtful every day. But I promise you, when you start doing it and you're seeing results and you're feeling better, you're going to want to continue to do it. So it's with any new habit, it's hard to start, but once you get into it, it becomes just like part of your life that you can't imagine working without. So that is eating for fat loss. And then finally, fitness for fat loss. So this is obviously where I started my journey, which was just in fitness. There's my little one, Spencer. So strength training plan, you need to have a plan 3 days a week. 8 weeks is kind of the minimum amount of time where if you can lock into 8 weeks, then you're really going to start seeing results quickly, because you're going to get consistent, you're going to build the muscle, and you are going to want to keep doing it, which is the most important part. Step 2, the walking, getting your walking up to 8,000 to 10,000 steps a day. Huge game changer. Seriously, the most underrated activity ever. Step 3 is increasing your weights. You can't just use little 3-pound weights forever. You got to increase your weights. Stay challenged. If you can do 50 bicep curls, you got to lift heavier, right? Like, you want to feel like it's a challenge for you. Obviously, sometimes you're going to want to move faster in a move, and so you'll use lighter weights, but most of the time, especially with my workouts, I want you to be using heavier weights so you can really challenge your body, build that muscle, burn a ton of calories, boost that metabolism. There's so many benefits of strength training, including longevity. So those are first 3. And then for 4, just stay consistent. It's really the secret sauce. Staying with it for at least 8 weeks is the amount of time it usually takes for somebody to like feel like they got it, and then they're going to want to keep doing it. So those are the 4 steps for the fat loss, fitness for fat loss. And then finally, I want to just explain sort of my program, which is Total Fit Show. So Total Fit Show is coming up. It starts September 8th, and there's sort of 2 tracks you can take. The first track is an 8-week at-home fitness program, which has been my signature program since I started this business. You get 3 workouts per week, and it's really for women who want to get stronger and leaner. Exactly what we're talking about today. You're going to have more energy. You're going to have much more muscle tone, and your clothes are going to fit better. That's what happens with this program. It really is amazing. If you can stay consistent with it and really do each workout full out for 30 minutes, you're going to see changes. And then if you feel like you want to do that, but you also want some more coaching and support on the nutrition side, I have a second track that's also the VIP support, where we're going to really hone in on your diet, and I will help you to really make a plan customized to you, so you know exactly what to do every day. You're going to have meal plans, you're going to have your macros done, and we are going to do weekly check-ins so you can stay on track and accountable, and you'll see your results much faster. So those are the 2 tracks. I'm going to turn off the sharing so we can chat. And yeah, so I know that was a lot of information I just threw at you. But all right, Maura says, I feel like I tried to lift weights for 4 months, 3 times a week, but saw no difference. What do you think? Is there an app you like to track? All right, both good questions. So I would say, obviously, I don't know exactly what you were doing, but likely either the weight wasn't enough, like you were not lifting heavy enough, or you were not doing it for like a long enough period of time in each session. So generally when I meet with people, they say, oh, I've been lifting weights. Like, I've got a little pair of 5-pound weights in my house, and that's what I use. It's probably not enough. You know, you really need to actually go heavier. And It can be scary at first, but I promise it's amazing how quickly you'll see results in your body physically when you start lifting heavier. And then is there an app you like to track? So I use MyFitnessPal.
Is
That
that
is
for
an
the
app I
food, the
use.
calorie, like the protein tracking too?
Yes. So
Okay.
so the MyFitnessPal, you can track, I think you can track your workouts in there as well, but I used it for my protein and tracking all my calories when I was kind of trying to figure out where I was going wrong in my diet. So that's a great one. And if you know your macros or you know how many calories you want to eat per day, you can enter that in. And then as you're adding your food in, it will like deduct throughout the day and it'll break it up by protein, fat, carbs. So you're seeing kind of the ratio of, you know, what types of foods you're eating the most, which is helpful. For me, I thought I was like, oh, I thought I'm so healthy. I got this. And I went in and started tracking my food and I was eating like 3 times as much fat as I should have been and not enough protein. So like my ratios were all off. So it was just a really good way to see it, and be like, oh, I didn't realize there was so much fat in avocados or in my almonds or whatever you're eating. So it's just like a good tool.
Hmm.
I like that one a lot. Does anyone else have any questions about the 4 pillars I talked about? Kendall, can you give some examples of high protein snacks that aren't bars? Yes. So you guys, if you follow me on Instagram, you know I really like my high protein yogurt. But if you're not a yogurt person, another great one, not my favorite, but a lot of people like it, cottage cheese, very high in protein, very healthy. I can't stand it, but a lot of people like it. Other snacks, you can do string cheese, you could do hard-boiled eggs, you could do a little bit of peanut butter with fruit. You could do, I mean, I feel like what the snacks that I've been eating lately has been either yogurt, hard-boiled eggs, or like turkey roll-ups, or just like pieces of leftover chicken and that's in my fridge that I'll just nibble on. Oh, you're welcome, Maura. So those are all kind of good snack ideas. Oh, okay. You're so sweet. And then for like, I don't know, does anyone here struggle with dessert? Like feeling like they go crazy at the end of the day or when they're eating dessert? Because what I have started to do is instead of grabbing the ice cream or a popsicle or piece of chocolate, I just do Greek yogurt with chocolate chips. And it's like very, very satisfying. And you are getting the sweetness of the chocolate, but you're not just eating junk. Like you're actually having something that's very good for you and has protein in it. So that's been a good swap for me for desserts. Any other questions? All right, I'll quickly say before I let you guys go that if you're interested in either the Total Fit Show program or Fit Show with nutrition coaching, there's a promo discount code right now that ends on Friday. So I'll send you all an email with that so you have it in case you want to check it out and learn more. I would love to have you in the program. It's a great way to stay on track and kind of start the fall off right. And if not, I hope this was helpful. I'm going to send you guys the replay so you can look at it later. Sorry about the tech issues. I don't know what happened there, but
Hey, Morgan, can you hear me?
yeah.
I have a question for you on belly fat
Yes.
and losing baby weight. So
Yes.
when you were obviously, struggling with belly fat,
Yes.
do you see more results from like strength training versus nutrition and cutting calories? Or where did you kind of see the switch the light go on and
Yes.
really see that like cutting into the belly fat?
Great question. Really good question. I immediately saw a lot of belly fat disappear when I started strength training. That was definitely where it like took off. And then the nutrition piece is much more about, for me at least, in my experience, was much more about like how I feel and like fueling my workout so I could actually stay consistent because I felt good in my body and I was eating the right foods and upping my protein. That was also, I was 35, 34. And when I had my last kid, I think I was 35. Yeah. And as we get older and sort of like approach menopause, the belly fat thing is changing from like the baby weight to estrogen dropping. And when our estrogen goes away, the visceral fat starts just accumulating in your stomach versus your thighs or your hips. So that piece though is diet and nutrition. I mean, sorry, diet and nutrition, fitness and nutrition. You have to kind of do both. But I think the strength training is very important. Yes.
Because I feel like I'm at that point too, where it's evaluating like what's going on with your hormones and like cortisol levels and like all this stuff, just like sitting there, and how to sort of kickstart that piece of it. If it's not just like the strength, obviously I could do a better job from a nutrition standpoint, but trying to really tone in if it's as you get to the mid 40s, like how your hormones are impacting, you know, all that visceral fat and whatnot, and how to really.
I know. Yes, I totally get it. And I think the hard part of it is your hormones, that the estrogen dropping definitely is the reason that as we get older, you see more belly fat in women like in their 50s, right? But unfortunately, a lot of the effects of the hormone changes that when we are approaching menopause is not the hormones themselves are not the cause. The hormones are causing us to not feel good. So we then eat, or we don't work out, or we stop moving as much. So as much as I'd love to say it's the hormones are the fault of everything, it's like that the one piece of the estrogen dropping, yes, that is the visceral fat is now just moving into your belly. But a lot of research has been done on this, and it's unfortunately it's more just that the hormones just make you feel not so great, and that's not fair. It sucks. It's not fair that we have to go through that, but it's about managing those feelings of like feeling super exhausted or feeling hungry all the time or not being able to stop eating. Those things happen, I think, because of the way hormones are impacting us. But I'd say the best way to go about it is do a deep diagnostic of your diet, figure out exactly where you need to improve, and start there and continue to strength train. Like the 3 to 4 times a week is all you need. Is really, you don't need to be in the gym 6 days a week. You don't.
Okay, thank you.
You're so welcome. Cassie said, do you take any supplements? Yes, I take creatine every day. I do a scoop of creatine, and I take vitamins. I just started a new vitamin regimen yesterday called HOP, Human Optimization, something performance or something. I don't know. I can send you the link for that too, but they give you like a little packet and you take them twice a day. But though, yeah, I do creatine every day. I think it helps with recovery. I think it helps with just not feeling so depleted after workouts. So that's been just something I do consistently. I put in my water every day. Thank you so much for this. It was incredibly insightful. Oh, you're welcome, Julie. Yeah, if anyone else has any questions, let me know. You can always DM me or send me an email. I will follow up with you guys all after this with the recording link. And if we have no other questions, I'll let you guys go. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will talk to you all soon. All right, take care.
Thank you.
Bye.